My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
ElectraCast.
He was born in the 19th century. At the age of 3, he was part of a vaudeville act with his parents called the Three Keatons, and they would just throw him around the stage. They threw him around so much that they actually sewed a suitcase handle onto the seat of his pants to make it easier to throw him around.
Welcome to episode 204 of Film Generations, where two guys from the 20th century select a classic movie to show a panel of young film lovers and see if it still plays for today's generation. I'm Mark Netter. I'm a filmmaker and an instructor at the Los Angeles Film School, as well as being co-founder and CEO of ElectraCast Media.
And I'm David Taussig. I saw The General when I was about 10 years old, and I got in a fight over it.
And I'm Grace Chapman, and I'm a film lover.
I'm Olive Goldberg, and I am a film major at Emerson College.
And I'm Guy Lewis, and I will graduate next month from the Los Angeles Film School, and I love movies.
This past week, we watched silent comedian Buster Keaton's The General, released in 1926, nearly 100 years ago, and the oldest film that we have yet discussed on Film Generations. Starring Buster Keaton and starting on the eve of the U.S. Civil War, it tells the story of Johnny Gray, a train engineer with two loves in his life, his locomotive, which is named The General, and a young woman, Annabelle Lee. When war breaks out, all the men in his southern town race to enlist, but Johnny is rejected due to the need for him as an engineer. However, he's never told the reason why and faces the shame of the town. Worst of all, Annabelle tells him she never wants to see him again unless he's in uniform. But Johnny's fortunes change when Northern spies hijack the General with Annabelle accidentally aboard, and Johnny races all alone against seemingly insurmountable odds to rescue both train and girl, climaxing with Johnny engineering the spectacular destruction of his beloved locomotive. Now, in 1998, this wasn't even on the AFI Top 100 Films of All Time list, but in 2007, it suddenly appeared as number 18. Why the sudden jump so long after the film was released? And how did our panel of young film lovers feel about the century-old action comedy? First question, aside from David and myself, was this everybody else's first time seeing this movie?
Yes.
All right. Did you have any expectations going in?
Yes, I had the expectations of a silent black and white film.
I assume those expectations were met.
They were. Yes. That's about it.
Yeah, I expected it to be pretty boring because Jake watched it before I did. He told me it was boring, and I was expecting a really boring film, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was hooked the whole way through.
I think about the famous Buster Keaton thing where he's standing in front of a house and the house falls and he stands in the window. So I was like, oh, yes, let's see this. And I didn't really get that, no. I mean, there was some stuff in there. There's some cool stuff, but okay.
Like I said, I had pretty low expectations, but I was just riddled with anxiety the whole time. I couldn't look away, and I was completely enthralled.
Olive, how about you?
I wish I could say the same. I didn't dislike it. I was actually really into it in the beginning, first half hour, and then I think some of the train sequences, I just sort of lost my attention. But there were some really great scenes and some funny moments for sure.
I would love to know, was there any particular scene that stood out to you as maybe your favorite?
Not even a scene, but a moment when he's running on the top of the train and there's a cannon and he picks up a piece of wood and throws it at the cannon. It was so ridiculous to me. I loved it.
Well, the only other silent film we've done is Modern Times, Charlie Chaplin's movie we did last season, which was done during the sound era, did have synchronized sound with it, although no dialogue. But is there something different for you guys watching a movie without any dialogue at all that is strictly visual with a few title cards?
I don't need dialogue. I don't know. Maybe it's the version that I saw. It seemed like the score was real modern, but it didn't sound like the whole piano, dun, 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 you know.
Oh, I had that one.
Did you see the black and white version on Prime? Is that the one you watched?
Yeah, it was black and white on Prime.
Yeah, that's got the Carl Davis score, which I think was done in like the early 1960s, and it's a full orchestra. So Buster Keaton, unlike Charlie Chaplin, didn't ever specify music to go with his movies, just whatever people did. That was fine with him. So every decade, it's had a different music score.
I watched it on Canopy, and I think it had an older score. I really liked it. It kept me engaged. I was like dancing with it while I was like stressing out for them.
What was it that was creating that feeling of suspense for you?
The chase in general. I couldn't side with Buster Keaton's character that much because he's like trying to be a Confederate soldier, so it was kind of hard. But you can't help but be on the protagonist's side. But I was conflicted there. But the situation, the train, all the stunts were just, I was on the edge of my seat. Like, how is he doing that? I would be swept under the train dead.
Were there any stunts in particular that stood out to you?
Oh my gosh. The first one that comes to mind is when he's on the front of the train, the cow catcher, and he has those logs. He's an athlete. I don't know how he pulled that off, but there were so many that were incredible. It's really hard to choose.
And I think David, about 31 years old at the time.
Wow.
30?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And he made it look so easy. So I think a lot of people might miss how incredible the stunts are just because they're so fluid and simple looking. But if you were to actually try that, you'd probably die. So I thought it was very impressive.
Everything he did on the train was badass, especially for the time. When I was a kid, I used to have to walk to piano practice, and I would cross this train track. And sometimes the train would be starting, and I would run up to the ladder and grab the ladder and ride for a little bit, and then jump off. We're talking like 10, 11,
Wow.
like, you know, like tiny kid. And every time he got on the train and he was like going back and forth, I felt this little nervousness and anxiety. It's like a rush, a little thrill, because I kind of know what that's like. And so anything he was going back and forth, jumping from car to car, you know, all that kind of stuff, I was like, okay, that's cool.
Oh, wow. David, I don't know, maybe you can provide some context about why it would have been acceptable then to have a movie from the Southern point of view with a protagonist like this compared to today.
Well, he actually told us the reason why he did it. He said, you can make villains out of the Northerners, but you can't make a villain out of the South. They lost the war, and audiences don't want to see them picked on. That's what he said. And
Maybe back then.
Well, when you think about the timing, right, this would be like seeing a movie today about 1957.
Mm-hmm.
There were still people alive that had fought in the war.
I imagine there are plenty of people at the time who felt, why do you have to be a Confederate soldier? I mean, passions were still high about the subject from some people. You know, I don't think Charlie Chaplin would have played a Confederate soldier, or at least would have been cognizant of the fact that he was playing a bit of a villain. He was more political than Keaton, and Keaton always seemed really apolitical to me. But I do think there is some politics there. Somebody mentioned this in a New Yorker article. They said that Chaplin is sort of the comedy of the immigrant, that even though he came from England, he was really convincing as a Jewish immigrant in the film The Immigrant, and was sort of conniving, trying to take advantage, and a lot of conflict based on class and his position. And Keaton doesn't do that. And you could kind of view Keaton as the opposite. He's the comedy of resistance to all that. He doesn't want his world to change. He's just trying to enjoy the weekend, but the cops are after him. Or he just wants to build his house, but everything goes wrong and a storm comes. He's a guy that's trying to maintain the status quo. He's kind of stoic, and he's always battling the elements. And he's an underdog too.
You know, one of the things that Keaton was known for was his lack of expression. He was called the Great Stone Face. Did you feel that his lack of expression was a positive or a negative as far as relating to the character?
Personally, it didn't help me. I definitely have a tendency to prefer characters that are like highly emotional, and I think that's definitely what I connect with more.
I don't think I even noticed that he wasn't very expressive. Maybe because I have the same issue, but I think it didn't affect me at all. In fact, I was thinking like he's kind of expressive. I don't know. I didn't think he wasn't that expressive.
I think he's, a modern actor.
Mm-hmm.
He says a lot with the minimum.
Yeah, there was something very contemporary about it. I can't put my finger on it.
Well, it's funny. I keep thinking about Clint Eastwood, and I know that they're completely different characters. But one of the big criticisms of Clint Eastwood when he was becoming famous back in the late 60s was that he would have no expression in the Sergio Leone movies. If he squinted, that was like a big deal to the audience. And I'm wondering if it's a kind of movie acting of underplaying that's more successful.
It makes me laugh. Just the offhand stuff, right? It's a little bit like in the Preston Sturges movies. Sometimes the throwaway lines are the funniest because you're not told, wait for it, here's a really funny thing. He doesn't beg for you to love him or to laugh at him. He leaves it to you. I like that.
It's like a heist movie. Well, it was a heist movie. They stole a train.
And he steals it back.
Yeah, so if you take out the Confederacy part of it, it might be a fun movie for me.
Did you find it difficult, the fact that he was a Confederate?
Oh, yeah, that was in the way the whole entire time. I mean, I don't know when this will come out, but it's Black History Month. And so I was like, oh, okay. Which I don't believe in whitewashing at all, so it was interesting. I watched a movie about the Civil War for the podcast during Black History Month because these representations in film, in history, should never be erased. They should be maintained and preserved because it allows people to have a objective look at history, and that way you can form your own opinions. That's one of the things I liked about it. It wasn't deleted, it wasn't edited for my feelings. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not about feelings, it's about art. So it's Black History Month. I'm going to be preachy this whole entire time. I apologize.
Yeah, it's something that David and I thought about when we were picking the movie. And I think in the movie, there's very few black characters, and they're basically just unloading the train.
There were two. And that's one of my superpowers. There were two in this one.
Now, how do people feel about, if we are going to show things from the past, framing it for modern audiences? So, for example, a few years ago, there was kind of a whole thing about Turner Classic Movies showing Gone with the Wind, which I just think is more baldly racist than The General. The decision was made not to hide it from the public, but to frame it so that when African-American host of TCM, Jacqueline Stewart, introduces the movie, she gives some framing to it. How important is that for these kinds of historical films?
Yeah, I think any old historical film, it's important to discuss the context, but especially when it's particularly problematic. I think sometimes there can be a tendency to just avoid talking about things that are controversial. And I definitely felt that too. Just a part of me watching it was like, I feel a little wrong, like giving this movie time because it is about the Confederacy.
Well, let me ask something. Gone with the Wind it's set in the South. Completely. It just wouldn't be the same movie if it was set in a different war or a different time or a different place. Maybe you might disagree. I feel like The General could just be about any war with any two sides fighting over a train. There's no discussion of what's different about this war than any other war. The Southerners and the Northerners don't act differently from each other. They're just soldiers trying to win a war. There's not much political context in the movie. So does that make a difference?
Or is it worse?
It's kind of like saying, these guys, that wanted to enslave other people, they're not so bad. That's the way I kind of felt about the fact that they didn't talk about it and that the leading man was ambivalent to the situation. He didn't free any slaves during the Free the Slaves War movie.
I think you just concepted the remake.
There you go. That would be awesome. In my head, I was kind of coping with it like, oh, he's like a bumbling fool. Maybe he doesn't know like what the war is about. That was like how I was coping with it. But yeah, it does leave a sour taste in your mouth when they don't address it at all.
I mean, you go 10 years earlier, you've got Birth of a Nation, which was this huge monster hit, D.W. Griffith, which really was based on all these stories he, as a Southerner, had been told as a kid that valorized the Southern way of life, the Confederate way of life, and all that, and literally led to the rise of the Ku Klux Klan in the early 20s. So, if you were going to say like most racist, you got Birth of a Nation, then maybe Gone with the Wind's over here, and maybe The General's like over here. I mean, they're still on a spectrum of some sort.
Yeah, but everything's on a spectrum. So
it's certainly not Do the Right Thing.
No, it's not Do the Right Thing.
It's a valid criticism of Buster that I don't know if it's a lack of sophistication or if it's just something about his cultural background that led him to be blind to this issue.
Wasn't he a Southerner, though? I mean, wasn't he?
No, he's from Kansas.
Well, kind of.
That's Southernish. But I think that what we're talking about is the accepted norms for the time, at least among dominant white culture, which was, majorly dominant in a way that, we can complain about today, but it's not the same.
He's made a movie for his intended audience, and like going back to what Dave said earlier, you can't beat up on the losers. He had to make a movie that sold. And as a aspiring filmmaker, I totally get that, how you can't always make the movie you want to make,
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because the book that it's based off of, it was switched. It was from the Union perspective. So it's like, why?
He made that decision, and he made it because he thought the audience would enjoy the film more, be more ready to laugh if it was this way.
I think it's better to beat up on the losers, for sure.
Well, that's like kind of counter to what today's culture says. I mean, that would be like punching down, right? So you're not supposed to punch down?
I get, but like the loser of a war, like they're losers.
I think guys hit upon something. I mean, there's a contradiction. Mm-hmm. Do you punch down on the people that were actually wrong and were traitors to the country? But you're punching down because they did lose and they're poor and the North is rich.
Well, there was a remake of this. Well, first of all, this is from a book from the 1880s called The Great Locomotive Chase, and it was remade by Disney from the northern point of view in the 60s, I believe, and wasn't quite as successful. And Buster thought it was because, first of all, he thought that it didn't look as real as his movie did. I mean, this is where I want to get into the question of, can we have a conversation about the movie on its merits outside of the cultural aspects that we've been discussing? I mean, the other thing I think about the South, too, is in 1926, the South was still, a lot of poverty. There still is today, but nothing like it was back then. Since 1926, the South has really risen. It's a lot stronger in politics. Certainly, the South is showing great strength in today's world. There's a whole resurgence of people who are into this kind of Confederate pride and claim that it's, not racist, even though it sure feels that way. So I think that trying to do the same thing today has a lot more baggage and loaded meaning to it than back then, when it's kind of like, oh, those guys lost and they're still recovering.
Definitely. And it does add a very interesting conflict too, because you are rooting for them. You can't help it. But then there's this other thing. But yeah, back then, I'm sure they weren't looking at it as microscopically as we are.
And then also, I think that compared to Birth of a Nation, they're not showing the Northerners as being monsters.
Yeah, no one's in blackface.
Yeah, and that's true too.
I feel like they just didn't really consider the social and political consequences of this movie in a good or bad way. They weren't trying to make any sort of statement that was anti-slavery or pro-Confederacy. They were just trying to make a movie that looked cool with stunts on a train.
I mean, if you think about it, the people that would have been having this conversation that we're having back in the 1920s would have been like far left radicals.
Could Buster Keaton even have made a movie that was making a statement then, if that was just not really socially acceptable?
I don't think you could make a comedy with this kind of tone and bring those subjects into it.
Are any of you familiar with the African-American silent filmmaker Oscar Micheaux?
I learned about him in one of my classes.
He was like the one guy who was actually making movies for Black audiences.
Yeah, it's like the token Black director at the time.
But I don't even think it was token, like the studios were backing him. I think he was doing it pretty much independently.
I think he found a niche. There was an audience. It wasn't as big or well-heeled an audience, but it was there.
People wanted to see themselves represented. And I think most of his films were dramas, at least the ones that I've seen.
Yeah, that's where I'm lacking. Earlier black cinema before color in the 70s.
You're not the only one. There wasn't a lot of it.
I've seen Raisin in the Sun. I've seen
60s.
it's one about the girl who's really light skinned, and so she had a white life, but her mom was black.
Was that Pinky or Imitation of Life?
Imitation of Life. There it is. Yeah, that one. I've seen that one. Those kind of era of black and white cinema. When I was younger, it was really hard to watch. As I get older, it's a little bit safer for me to go back and experience that pain, that trauma from back then. It's easier for me to do it now than it was for me to do it back then.
I don't know if it's still there, but at the Academy Museum, they had a really cool exhibit about like early black cinema. You should check it out if it's still there.
I have yet to go to the Academy Museum, and I need to
It's
get
amazing.
Oh, really? Oh, you got to go.
Why do you guys think that this movie, even with that baggage, has somehow risen to these top 100 list of American films and is, even in its time, not a huge hit, now is considered a classic? What do you think about it is somehow letting it survive?
I think a lot has to do with the fact that there was no fancy like cuts for the incredible shots you see, like the train going over the bridge and the bridge collapsing. I literally said, wow. And when the dam burst and all the water came rushing, it's just like a marvelous feat that they were able to do that 100 years ago with no CGI or special effects or anything. And I was really, really mesmerized the whole time.
The stunts and the scale of the spectacle of this movie does say a lot to Buster Keaton's talent. But again, if you take all the Confederate stuff out, right?
Right.
It's a pretty decent heist movie. And most heist movies are awesome.
It's pretty decent, though. It's not like number 16 or whatever.
I mean, it's not like the greatest thing ever, but it's pretty good. All the articles I've read about this thing, and then you go in the comments, to get your, daily dose of racism. So you go in the comments, and then like people say things on both sides, and on the side where it's not racist, they're saying like if you just look at the movie for what it is, it's really technically good, and they have a point. I don't feel a conflict with this movie because I know where it fits in life. It's in the category of things that were before, like Superfly. You know what I'm saying? It's not really great for black people. I mean, it's great, but it's not really great. But it's done in the movies that were made before, and so you shouldn't erase those. You should watch those and learn from those and experience those and absorb what the points that these people were trying to make at the time that they were trying to make.
So speaking about the film in a more formal way, outside of the political aspect, do you guys feel like it's more of an action movie or more of a comedy?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't think it was that funny, so it was more of an action movie.
I agree.
Like, I could tell when it was supposed to be like a comedic moment, but I was like, it's not really making me laugh.
Well, I think that also has to do with the fact that a lot of the interactions between the Buster Keaton character and I don't know the lady's name.
Annabelle Lee.
Yeah, Annabelle Lee. Their interactions doesn't fly with standards of today. I mean, like, he was shaking her, he choked her a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
In fun.
And then he kisses her.
Yeah, like, it was always done in fun. Oh, you crazy broad, you. But, and then, like, he threw a piece of brick. He was quite abusive to her, And so, in that context, I mean, I'm pretty sure back when, men were Neanderthals and women didn't voice their opinions as loud, that audience had a laugh in the theater at that time.
When was suffrage? Was that 1920, 1921? When was
I think so.
1921.
There's so much history in this podcast.
This movie came out 5 years after women got the right to vote.
White
That's
women
crazy.
only.
Yes. Good to see.
For sure.
Are you
De
sure about
facto.
that?
Yep.
Black men had the right to vote after the Civil War.
Let me look
So
it up.
in the 19th century. So I'd be very surprised if black women didn't get.
You're about to
vote.
be very surprised.
Yeah, here we go, internet.
1965, black women got the right to vote.
Oh.
Damn, there you go.
I think
you
that.
sure?
I think. No, I
Legally,
think that.
The
Black women had the right to vote, but there were many states that passed laws that made it difficult for Black citizens of their state to vote. But that was illegal, and they were fighting the federal government all through that time.
In some of these precincts, you'd go in and they would be like, okay, can you count the number of marbles in this jar? If you can't, you can't vote.
There are still techniques being used in some states to keep people from voting.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pate. Fancy Feast Gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast Gems.
All right. I would love to move on to, I think we have some research that some folks have done on this.
The General made about $1 million. Today, that's about $17,330,000. But the budget for this movie was $750,000. It did make a profit, but I don't know if it would be considered a box office success because the number one movie around the time made about $3 million, and this one only made about $1 million.
And I think he kind of lost his autonomy after making this movie because it didn't make enough money.
That's what I read too.
He decided to sign a contract with MGM because he just couldn't go on making films independently. And Harold Lloyd and Charlie Chaplin both said, don't do it. If you lose your independence, they'll destroy you. And that's exactly what happened.
Grace, what was your research about?
I was researching the making of. It was a very expensive film to make. The train wreck scene was the most expensive single shot in silent film history. It cost $42,000. And the town where everything was filmed, they declared that day like a local holiday. So everyone in the town didn't go to work, didn't go to school. They just watched this filming take place. And that included like the 500 extras from the Oregon National Guard. And there were numerous accidents, making it even more expensive. Like all kinds of fires broke out. A train wheel ran over somebody's foot. Keaton was knocked out unconscious a few times. And then an AD was shot in the face with a blank.
Whoa.
The production company actually left the wreckage of the train in the riverbed. And it became like a really popular tourist attraction until World War II when they had to salvage all the material.
Did the AD live?
Yeah, it was just a blank, so.
I don't know. It's killed Brandon Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Blanks kill people.
I hope he lived. I didn't read that he died.
It's just AD is not important.
I think one of the things that the film is known for was really looking like those old Matthew Brady Civil War photographs. Keaton was really into it being as accurate as possible. They found real trains from the era, which makes it even crazier that they destroyed one of them.
I know.
I was a little bit.
I know. I really like trains. I don't know why. But the whole time watching the movie, I felt like I was at Knott's Berry Farm, like on the train heist ride.
Olive, were you able to do some research about the times when the film was released? I know we've talked a bit about it already, but...
Yeah, I have. It was the Roaring 20s, so there was obviously a lot of economic and political and social change, and it was a lot more free and rebellious culture than it ever had been. There was like a mass movement into the cities from the farms and country for the first time, and also a rise of mass entertainment. So film in the 20s is absolutely booming. Hollywood is like on the way to becoming the most massive industry in the nation. I don't really know if this is relevant, but it also like came out the year before the first sound movie. So I think it's interesting that it was such a successful silent movie, even towards like maybe the end of the silent era.
Yeah, this is really where it starts to change. I mean, this is kind of the peak expressiveness of the silent movie.
It was a very exciting free time for probably white Americans, but there was a lot of cultural tensions in regards to sex and race and gender. And also this was in the middle of Prohibition, which I don't know if that makes any difference in the movie, but thought it was interesting.
A lot of people sneaking alcohol.
Yes.
And driving in cars for the first time in American history. Consumers having cars and young people driving around in the jalopy.
Drunk driving.
Yeah, a lot of traffic accidents. No seatbelts.
Yeah, but cars weren't really going that fast.
Well, how about the fact that the train in the movie is often not going that fast? Did you guys notice that?
It's very slow.
I think they did that on purpose because they didn't want anyone to die or any more people's foot to get ran over.
I wonder how fast that train from 1860 could go anyway. The train was already 60 years old when they shot the movie, at least.
It seemed like the camera was tracking on some other device. Was it also on a train, or was it in a car? Or do you know how they did that?
I was wondering that too.
That's a great question. I don't know if there were parallel tracks or if they had a road that ran by. One of the things about this film is it is very technically proficient, especially for its time. He wanted all the stunts to be clearly real. He didn't want to cut away so that people would think they were fake or he's using camera tricks. And like Kubrick, he's just a very, very technically proficient director, the master of the camera.
Interesting.
And that might lead into my research, right, about Buster. I mean, number 18 on the AFI list of best films of all time. Roger Ebert, who's a critic we've talked about a lot, said that his work during the 20s made him the greatest actor-director in the history of the movies, period. And so there's a lot of people thinking very highly about him. And yet I get the vibe that people aren't bowled over by this film. And I understand that. So why this incredible reputation? Is it just a historical thing? Or is it more than that? Is there something to this? And the only way I can answer that, and the only way I think you can answer it, is to look a little more at his amazing body of work during the 20s, particularly in his short films, but also his features. Even if you only look at some compilations of his films, if that's as much time as you're willing to give it, look at those, you'll start to see that there's something really special, I think, about the way he shoots films. He was born in the 19th century. At the age of 3, he was part of a vaudeville act with his parents called the Three Keatons. And they would just throw him around the stage. They threw him around so much that they actually sewed a suitcase handle onto the seat of his pants to make it easier to throw him around. And
physically throwing him?
Threw him against walls, just threw him all around. That was a big part of the act. It was a very physical act.
19 what?
The beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah, like 1905.
1900.
Yeah, you could throw a kid around all you want back then.
Actually, the police arrested them several times, accusing them of child abuse.
Wow.
And Keaton always would demonstrate, hey, I'm fine, I'm happy, I got no bruises, I've never had a broken bone. He didn't like the police to interfere, but they did. And the act had to stop going to New York City because in New York, they wouldn't let them do it. And they would make Buster go to school, and he didn't want to go to school. So they didn't tour New York, but they toured most of the rest of the country. He was billed as the little boy who can't be damaged. And the act was called the roughest act in the history of stage. Right? And Keaton said it was just a matter of knowing how to fall. Our imitators never last because they can't stand the treatment, but I know how to do it. So you can see this in his movies. He makes good use of this ability. When I was a kid in the 60s, there was this big thing about Chaplin versus Keaton. I mean, it was like arguments about the Beatles versus the Stones, and maybe Harold Lloyd would be the Kinks. Everyone had to have an opinion about it who cared about silent movies. And my best friend was a big Keaton fan. He had a neighbor named Raymond Rohauer who would find old movies and then somehow find a way to copyright them, even though he didn't really own them. He had a theater in LA called the Coronet on La Cienega. It's still around. Thornton Wilder and Bertolt Brecht premiered plays there. Man Ray and Kenneth Anger premiered films there. Conan O'Brien broadcast from there during the pandemic. So Raymond Rohauer met Keaton in the 50s when Keaton wanted to show his wife, Eleanor, the general, but he couldn't find it. It was just gone. And at this point, Keaton's reputation was just the worst it could be. He had been an alcoholic for 20 years, and he was broke. And his films were forgotten, and he was forgotten. And Rohauer had a print and gave it to Keaton to show his wife. During the whole 50s, that's the only way you would ever see a Buster Keaton film, is somebody's private, can of film. Keaton is really masterful with a camera and with the idea of the rectangle. He played a lot with that. He made a film called Sherlock Jr., which Woody Allen kind of ripped off, where a projectionist literally steps into the movie. So Keaton was very inventive. I was a Chaplin guy, but the people that argued for Keaton would say Keaton is pure cinema. Chaplin is theatrical, trying to get you to cry, asking for a lot of sympathy. With Keaton, there's no mugging, just pure visual art.
I mean, I know that George Miller says he always goes back to the silence, the man who made all the Mad Max movies. If you look at Mad Max Fury Road, there's similarities to the general.
I think every action film made owes a lot to the silent films, and I think this is one of the best pure action chase films that was made then. Unfortunately, Keaton didn't survive the sound era. Like I said, he was forgotten. He was rediscovered, and then some of his fans, like Billy Wilder and Charlie Chaplin, put him in movies. He appears with Chaplin in a film called Limelight. He was in Sunset Boulevard. Then he did the pilot for I Love Lucy, because Lucille Ball was a huge fan of his.
Wow.
Richard Lester, who did A Hard Day's Night and other films, put him in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, which was Buster's last film. But in 1965, he was invited to the Venice Film Festival, where he showed a new short film he had just made called Film, and was based on a Samuel Beckett screenplay. And he got a 5-minute standing ovation because people were so happy to see him back. And he teared up and he said, "Thank you. This is the first time I've been invited to a film festival." And then he died a year later of lung cancer. But he was recognized, luckily, before it was too late.
We'll be right back after this.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, "I'm casual but cool." Sparkly sneakers that say, "It's my classroom, you're just learning in it." And preppy polos that say, "I'm the teacher's pet," even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
New season, new chaos in college football.
Let's go! Big stage, big opportunity.
This Labor Day weekend, the wildness lives on ABC, ESPN, and the all-new ESPN app.
What a way to start!
Featuring top 10 teams like Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, and LSU, and Bill Belichick's debut at North Carolina.
It's so special when these teams collide.
Don't miss a lineup filled with electric matchups.
Welcome back to college football.
Kickoff week presented by Modelo. Labor Day weekend on ESPN and ABC. Also available to stream on the all-new ESPN app.
All right, it's time for us to rate this movie. With all of our films, you have up to 4 stars. 4 would be on your best of all time list. 3.5 stars, that's an A movie. 3 stars is an A minus. Then we get to the Bs with 2.5 stars, a B plus, and 2 stars would be a B minus. I'm going to start with Olive on this one.
Oh.
Be honest. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'll give it a B plus, 2.5. I can understand why it would be higher historically or for other people, but with the way that I was able, or the ways that I was not able to really emotionally get super invested, and also the issues with the Confederacy, I had a hard time separating.
You forgot to ask.
Oh,
who would you recommend this movie to? I'm still in your job.
Thank you. You can step in when I'm sick.
Oh, I know. Well, I'm sure he's seen it, but my grandpa.
That is so perfect.
That's why we call it Film Generations.
All right, Grace, take your shot. Who would you recommend this to, if anybody, and what would your rating be?
I would recommend this to anybody who likes a good chase or heist movie. Anyone who is a Charlie Chaplin hater like me. Because this made me wonder like how anyone could like Charlie Chaplin when Buster Keaton exists. I'm just kidding. Obviously. But
No, I think that's really interesting. I like that.
Well, compared to modern times, it sounds like you were more engaged.
I was, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say because there's really amazing things about modern times, but Charlie Chaplin just really irritated me. He ruined the film for me. But Buster Keaton, I'm really glad I gave him a chance because I was not looking forward to watching this, but I was pleasantly surprised. So, yeah, I'd recommend it to anyone who could sit through a silent film, and I would give it a 3.5, I'll say. I'd probably watch it again despite the Confederate stuff. But I was just on the edge of my seat, and it was breathtaking at moments, so I would definitely love to see it again.
Guy.
I recommend this movie to anyone who wants to learn or pick up on visual storytelling without having to rely on dialogue. But 2.5. I'm sorry. I can't.
Don't be sorry.
Yeah, 2.5. That's a B plus though. B plus.
B plus is good.
B plus. B plus.
B plus is good. The reason that we made it so that there's either B plus or B minus is like you can't have a middle ground with a B movie. Is it a good B movie that if you like the genre, you'd enjoy yourself? Or is it kind of falls short and it's not even that fun for a B movie, even if you like the genre? So a B plus is no shame. No shame. David, now that we have exactly what you were talking about in the past, the Chaplin versus Keaton debate in this very podcast, how do you feel about the general?
Well, I think I gave Modern Times 4, and I'm not going to give this 4, so I'm going to be true to my Chaplin loyalty, but tough for me between 3 and 3.5. So 2 weeks ago, we had Preston Sturges, and I said, Lady Eve, for me, 3, but Preston Sturges' career, a 4. And I think that's exactly how I feel about this. For me, this film is probably a 3. It's not my favorite Keaton film, but it's really great. It's up there. I was not totally looking forward to watching it. And when I did sit down and watch it, I actually really enjoyed it. It's 80 minutes long. It never gets boring. The beginning, it's a little rough. I didn't like the way that they don't tell him why they won't take him in the army. They just say, we're not taking you. And then he has to feel bad for the whole movie. And there's no real good reason for it. But once it gets going, once the trains start moving, I think it's just a thrill ride all the way to the end. As far as who I'd recommend it to, I'd say this. Really, anyone who's just in comedy should check it out. Give it a chance. Silent films are wonderful. I would watch Cops.
Cops is
I'd
great.
watch 1 Week.
1 Week is great.
Yeah, I'd recommend those to anybody who wants a laugh. He's funny. Buster Keaton's funny.
I just wanted to mention 1 Week, he is a newlywed who has a prefab house, but the local mean guys screw up his instructions and change the numbers on the pieces. So the house ends up being a complete, crazy house and spins around when the wind blows. And he's chasing around the house trying to get in. I won't even tell you, the ending is a surprise
funny.
too. That's amazing. And I've seen it in the theater with my kids and a bunch of people, and everyone's laughing their heads off. It's a short, it's 20 minutes. The other one that I really love that David mentioned is Cops, which kind of starts off a little bit slow, but ends up with him being chased by every single cop in Los Angeles. And my favorite stunt that he ever did is there's a trolley car coming by at full speed. He grabs onto it, no cuts, and basically goes horizontal as it pulls him away out of frame.
Wow.
Mind-blowing
That
stuff.
sounds so cool.
What movie is that? Cops?
Cops.
Yeah.
Cops.
I'm going to watch that tonight.
There's something really charming and enjoyable about being in the presence of Buster Keaton. And isn't that what we want from movie stars? Not just actors, but the stars. Like, why do we go back to a Clint Eastwood movie? Because we want to see Clint being Clint. Why do we want to see Jennifer Lawrence in a comedy? Because she's funny and we like being in her company. When she's doing a comedy, you're on her side. And I think with Buster, he's always a welcome presence. He's not overdoing it. He's doing very small little things with his expressions. And it's good company. And I think The General is just a really purified version of that. For me, it's a 3-star movie. I just really enjoy watching him every once in a while because I have a Canopy and I have Criterion. If it's late at night and I just want to watch something before I go to bed, but I don't want to even watch an hour-long thing, I'll put on a Buster Keaton short and watch it for 20 minutes. And
I'm about to do that when we get off of here.
oh, it's great. It's great. The Playhouse is great, where he plays like 5 different characters in one shot, which is unbelievable. Sherlock Jr. is a bit longer. It's like between a short and a feature. It's like, I think, a 4-reeler, but it's got, I think, maybe the best chase scene outside of the General that he's done.
So our average comes up at 2.9. So since we're post-Valentine's, we'll go ahead and round it up to 3.0. We're going to give him a little love.
That's an A-.
A-.
Yeah. Listen, for a film that's 100 years old, kind of amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are movies that are 2 years old that I don't want to see again.
Yeah.
All right, guys. If you want to watch The General, it is streaming for free with a Prime subscription and available to rent on a number of services. And there are various versions for free and paid on YouTube. I would just avoid the colorized version. I think it's a crime against cinema. And there is a colorized version on Prime. Watch the other one.
By the way, thank you, Amazon, because the colorized version has a black and white preview image for it, and the black and white good version has a color preview on it, so it's confusing.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I'm so glad you brought that up, David. Speaking of YouTube, you can find Film Generations there with clips and stills, and we are on audio wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you like our show, please tell your friends. Please rate and review the show so others can find out about us as well. Film Generations is an ElectraCast production. I would like to thank our panelists, Grace Chapman, Olive Goldberg, Guy Lewis, as well as my co-host and our producer, David Tauzik. Our executive producers are myself, Mark Netter, and my partner, Peter Rafelson at ElectraCast. Our editor is Marcus Campito. Please join us for our next episode, where we will jump ahead, yes, into the sound era, into the color era, 42 years, and back into the horror genre for the first time since we did Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. This one is going to be with Mia Farrow, starring in Roman Polanski's chilling tale of the most demonic pregnancy of all time, Rosemary's Baby from 1968.
I just saw that as I was scrolling through one of my streaming services, like literally today, and was like, I've been meaning to watch that for so long.
Oh man, save it until we meet. It's going to be great. So will our panel of young film lovers find this movie devilishly entertaining, or will we all give it up for adoption? Find out here on Film Generations.
ElectraCast. ElectraCast.
Welcome to the Candle Power Hour. Come with us backstage, behind the scenes of show business, spanning over 4 decades and bringing you the experiences that can only be told by the people who were there.
Our guests are from the A-list, the F-list, and everyone in between. Get set for some of the most insane, hilarious, and inspiring stories you will ever hear.
I'm Mercury.
And I'm Diego.
Your hosts for the Candle Power Hour.
You deserve better health care. And so do we all. Medicine in America is a podcast that shares real stories of patients and doctors reshaping the future, because the revolution in care isn't coming, it's already here. Real stories, real change, a better future for healthcare.
ElectraCast.